European courts often treated werewolf accusations as an extension of witchcraft. Church and state authorities insisted that supernatural powers came from a pact with Satan, so any shape-shifting confession linked the accused to the devil. Under torture, defendants who only believed in animal transformation sometimes echoed the official view to end their suffering. This alignment of shape-shifting magic with diabolical activity led to convictions for witchcraft, which was often followed by public execution. Now, the fact of the matter is, the werewolf and the entire myth surrounding it became famous because of literature and folklore, but its origin is grounded in reality. In this video, I'll take you through the entire journey of 16th century Europe when people feared the beast within and the trials that came later. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The role of folklore in shaping the origin of the werewolf myth. The myth of the werewolf is actually rooted in facts and history, so much so that it's as much a work of distortion of real events as it is a work of imagination. Throughout history, shapeshifters have intrigued human beings, and the werewolf is presumably one of the most famous of these shapeshifters. You may think that the werewolf is a rather modern concept that started with the arrival of religions in the world, but no. It goes far back in history. Stone Age artists painted half-human, half-animal figures over 10,000 years ago, and similar hybrids appear in ancient art across Europe, Africa, and Australia. So we not only had werewolves, but also creatures like werelions and werebats. It's possible that this happened because early humans regarded powerful creatures with awe and fear. Some may have been deities, others simply evil beings translated into painting because of fear and dread. Furthermore, when our ancestors confronted murder or cannibalism, or something that was despicable and unexpected, it seemed easier to blame dark magic than admit to human evil. Many European archaeologists believe a Proto-Indo-European mythology once included lycanthropy through a warrior class called the Koryas. Dogs were likely our first close companions, so wolves or wolf dogs may have lived with young, unmarried warriors. These animals helped with hunting, provided warmth, and sometimes became food in desperate times. Archaeological sites across Europe reveal wolf remains in ritual burials, which only means that the practice was widespread and not limited by geography. India, Norse lands, and Ireland also share some strangely similar parallels. For instance, the Indian Vratias, the Irish Fina, and Norse Ulfhenar, or the wolf warriors or berserkers, each survived as roaming fighters. They wore wolf, bear, or boar skins, howled into battle, and often initiated new members in winter, returning to society at the summer solstice. Have you ever watched Robert Eggers' The Northman starring Alexander Skarsgård? Well, I believe that's one movie that defines and describes these berserkers in the best possible way. To join these warrior bands was to descend into darkness. They lived off what they hunted or stole, existing in a liminal state between wildness and civilization. The Gaulish tribes who supposedly fought naked may have been remnants of these customs. In Brittany, France, boys continued to wear wolfskins into the Middle Ages. Criminals also wore wolf pelts to rob isolated homesteads. References to werewolves appear in pagan sources and in Greek, Roman, and early Christian writings. Under Christian influence, lycanthropy grew notorious, and this led to wolf persecution and witch-like trials. Suspects were tortured, then burned or beheaded. Folklore claimed a curse, an enchantment, a bite, or a devilish belt or potion could create a werewolf, but not all presumed werewolves were put to death. Wolfsbane became the alleged remedy for wolf bites and the werewolf condition. Worldwide, many cultures share similar stories, such as the Wendigo among native peoples in Turtle Island, notorious for cannibalism. Wolves have shaped our collective imagination for millennia, possibly second only to horses. To see a wolf in person feels profound, reminding us of our long partnership in hunting and living. In the Middle Ages, a fear of wolves rose alongside a crackdown on pagan practices and any ritual that hinted at shape-shifting. Now, the question remains, how exactly did the werewolf become so popular across Europe? Let's explore it country by country. France. The French call a male wolf loup and a female wolf is called louve, while a werewolf is called loup-garou. Early French tales about werewolves date back to at least the 12th century. One famous example is Bisclavret, the Werewolf, translated from Breton by Marie de France. It tells of a nobleman who mysteriously disappears for 3 days a week. His worried wife spies on him and learns his secret. He transforms into a wolf by removing his clothes. She steals his garments to trap him in wolf form, but the king later shows mercy and helps restore the knight to human shape. Another notable story is Melian. This knight serves King Arthur and promises never to marry a woman who has loved another man. He finally meets the daughter of the King of Ireland, marries her, and they have children. One day, she craves the flesh of a remarkable stag. Melian uses a magic ring to become a wolf so he can catch it for her. While he's gone, she runs away with his squire and takes his clothes. Melian must roam the wild until King Arthur realizes a wolf of such gentleness must be under a spell. Arthur forces the treacherous wife to return Melian's clothes, freeing him to become human again. Melian forgives her, but chooses to leave Ireland and return to Britain with Arthur. Scotland. In Scottish Gaelic, a wolf is Madad Alaid, or Mactir, which means son of the countryside. Although werewolf legends are rare in Scotland, wolf symbolism abundantly appears in place names like Mullinavady, which means Mill of the Wolf, Lochmaddy, and Craig a Madite, or Crag of the Wolf. Ancient kings encouraged wolf hunting, and by the 15th century, Scottish monarchs pushed for the species' eradication. This campaign eventually turned wolves into a distant memory, but they did survive in folklore. Stories about man-wolves are sparse, yet a being called the Wolver appears in tales from the Shetland Islands. Early accounts describe the wolver as a creature with a man's body and a wolf's head. He lived in a cave on a hillside and spent his days quietly fishing at a rock known locally as the Wolver's Stain. These legends depict the wolver as peaceful. For instance, it would leave fish on windowsills for poor families. Some folklorists later concluded that such stories might have been embellished or even fabricated, but they still hint at how wolves figured into the Scottish imagination. A small incantation collected by Alexander Carmichael references wolves alongside other animals. Farmers threw pieces of their quarter cakes over each shoulder, asking wolves, foxes, eagles, and ravens to spare their livestock. This ritual likely shows a time when people coexisted with and feared wild predators. Wolves were part of everyday life, so superstitions and simple rites helped communities feel safer. Ireland. Ireland and Scotland are really close neighbors, and much like the Scottish language, in Irish, a wolf is Mactire, son of the countryside, and a werewolf may be called Fowlad or Conriach. Place names like Feltram or Feildruim literally mean wolf ridge, and Iskna Mactire means water of the wolves. This means that the land was once thick with these animals. Ancient bones found in several Irish counties confirm that wolves roamed Ireland for thousands of years. Over time, as people clashed with wolves, folklore about shape-shifting wolfmen took root. Irish myth often links wolves with warriors, magic, and the boundary between worlds. The Brecon laws include references to werewolves, suggesting that shape-shifting or wolf-like conduct had a place in older legal or social codes. Some believe druids practiced spells involving animal forms, and the Morrigan, a goddess of sovereignty and battle, could appear as a wolf on the battlefield. She symbolized prophecy, the land's power, and death, while wolves often feasted on fallen warriors. Irish legends also have heroic tales containing wolves. Cormac mac Airt, a High King of Ireland, was said to have been suckled by a she-wolf in the caves of Cash. In fact, we know all about Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers who founded Rome, and suckled from the teats of a wolf as children. The Fenian cycle describes wolf-like daughters of Eretek, who emerged each Samhain from their cave at Owainagat. Musicians lulled them with harp music, which also revealed their human nature before they were slain. The werewolves of Ossory trace to Laonoch Feilad, a warrior who took on wolf form to raid the land. He and his descendants were said to slip into wolf skins, howling in the night as they hunted. Wales. In Welsh, the word for wolf is blaid, and werewolf is blaidiad. While Wales has fewer werewolf traditions than other regions, the region does have some thrilling werewolf stories. One modern-sounding folktale, sometimes called the Merionethshire Werewolf, tells of a professor who finds a giant canine skull by a lake. After bringing it home, his wife encounters a terrifying half-wolf, half-human creature prowling outside. She and her husband finally cast the skull into the lake, and the beast vanishes. Older Welsh literature also mentions shape-shifting knights. Sir Marach appears in some Arthurian tales as a man who changes into a wolf whenever he loses his clothes. His wife hides them to keep him away so she can remain with her lover. King Arthur eventually discovers Marach's plight, recovers his clothes, and frees him from the curse. This theme of withheld garments echoes broader Celtic shapeshifting motifs, where returning a hidden cloak or pelt restores humanity. Though not about werewolves, the famous story of Gellert shows Wales's close bond with wolf-like dog. Gellert was a loyal hound who protected Prince Llewellyn's baby from a wolf attack. Unfortunately, Llewellyn thought that the dog had killed the baby when he saw the dog's bloody face. Unaware that Gellert actually had the wolf's blood on his face, the man slew Gellert. When he realized the truth, he was grief-stricken and never smiled again. Germany. The German word for werewolf is Werewolf, derived from Wer and wolf. This concept traces back to early Germanic beliefs, where people thought certain warriors or outcasts could assume wolf form. Pagan traditions often viewed wolves with awe and fear, tied to both battle prowess and fierce independence. Over time, Christian influences reshaped these old ideas into tales of cursed men who became wolves under the full moon or through spells. In older Norse-influenced lore, which filtered into parts of what is now Germany, gods like Odin had wolves as companions, and the monstrous wolf Fenrir is supposed to kill Odin when Ragnarok arrives. England. The English word werewolf comes from the Old English werewolf, meaning man-wolf. England once had wild wolves, but official records say they were wiped out by the late 15th century. Actual encounters with wolves became rare, yet the notion of a human who transforms into a wolf continued to remain and thrive in folklore and literature. Medieval England picked up broader European werewolf themes, though it never had as many local legends as France or Germany. People often explained bizarre events or animal attacks by suspecting a shapeshifter. Over time, the English werewolf story focused on curses, enchanted belts, or deals with dark forces. The full moon motif, more prominent in later centuries, also took hold here. Norse and Celtic influences might have played a role, especially in regions where older beliefs lingered. In some tales, a cursed knight or peasant roams the countryside at night, howling under the moonlight, only to regain human form by dawn. Though such stories exist, they are fewer and less detailed compared to Celtic shapeshifting myths or Germanic werewolf fables. Early Christianity's stance on witchcraft also shaped England's werewolf lore. While werewolf accusations were more common in mainland Europe, English communities absorbed the same fear of diabolical transformations, even if actual cases rarely surfaced in English courts. Over time, popular literature wove the werewolf into ghost stories and Gothic tales, giving it a permanent niche in the imagination. Now that we know the history of wolves in European literature and folklore, let's explore the most notorious cases and accusations of the European werewolf witch hunts and trials. Major werewolf trials, notorious cases and accusations. During the late Middle Ages and the early modern period, Europe saw a surge in witch trials. Alongside them arose accusations of lycanthropy, or werewolf transformations. These cases, though fewer than typical witchcraft trials, still formed part of the broader witch hunt phenomenon. They began in early 15th century Switzerland, spread throughout Europe in the 16th century, peaked in the 17th, and tapered off in the 18th. France handled several dozen werewolf witch trials at the close of the 16th century. Many defendants, including the Gondilon family, the Werewolf of Chalons, and Jacques Roulet, also faced murder and cannibalism charges. One of the best-known trials was that of Gilles Garnier in 1573. Authorities accused him of killing children while in wolf form, and he received a death sentence. French courts often prosecuted werewolf suspects alongside witchcraft charges, especially when murder or other violent acts were involved. In Livonia, the local peasantry still practiced pagan customs well into the 17th century. They did not believe in Satan or a diabolical pact, but they believed in malevolent magic and in the possibility that certain individuals could become wolves or bears to harm others. Officials, influenced by European witchcraft models, assumed these shape-shifting beliefs must involve Satan and forced confessions that aligned with witch trial norms. Between 1527 and 1725, at least 18 trials accused 18 women and 13 men of causing harm as werewolves. Confessions described wolfskins given by a demon or another person, hidden under rocks when not in use. In one 1636 case, a woman from Kurna said she ate special berries from an old woman in the woods and then hunted as a wolf. Another account from 1633 mentioned Kanti Hans and his wife turning into wolves, while a female accomplice took the shape of a bear. Hans the Werewolf, 1651. Hans was accused in Idavir. He confessed that he had hunted as a werewolf for 2 years after receiving his wolf's body from a man in black. He pointed to bite marks on his leg as proof of physical transformation. The court concluded that he had truly become a wolf, with the man in black interpreted as Satan. Under that logic, Hans was guilty of witchcraft. Thijs of Kaltenbrunn, 1692. In Jurgensburg, officials interrogated 80-year-old Thijs, who admitted he was a werewolf but insisted he and others traveled to hell 3 times a year to battle Satan's witches and secure a good harvest. The court tried to make him confess a satanic pact, but he denied any link to the devil. He received a whipping sentence on October 10, 1692. Scholars sometimes compare Thijs' account to the Benandante of northern Italy, who claimed to fight evil forces to protect crops. In the Netherlands, accusations of werewolfery and witchcraft were largely interchangeable. During the Amersfoort and Utrecht witch trials of 1591 to 1595, several people faced charges of sorcery. 4 of them were executed, 1 woman died in prison, and 1 man escaped. A key defendant, Volkert Dirks, was accused alongside his children. Under torture, his son Albert claimed they turned into wolves or cats at Satan's command and met others who did the same. Volkert eventually confessed to receiving wolf powers from the devil and assaulting cattle in animal form. His daughter, Hendrika, admitted to attending a witches' gathering while in wolf shape. Authorities executed Volkert, Hendrika, and 2 others named by Elbert. They spared the younger children due to their age and ordered them whipped. In 1595, another werewolf trial took place in Arnhem. Johann Martensen of Steenhausen confessed that the devil turned him into a wolf and sent him, along with 8 or 10 others, to attack humans and livestock. He also admitted to bewitching both. He felt aware in wolf form, but unable to speak. Authorities executed him by strangulation and burned his body on August 7, 1595. In Spanish Netherlands, the Catholic Church linked werewolf lore to devil worship. Between 1589 and 1661, records show 6 men executed for sorcery, with 3 of them explicitly tried as werewolves. One notorious example was Peter Stump in 1589 near Cologne. However, this location is now in Germany. Older sources sometimes connect it with broader territories than under Spanish rule. In 1598, Jan van Calster was accused of biting 2 children as a wolf, but was acquitted. In 1605, Henry Garden faced a death sentence after accusations of being a werewolf and a witch. Authorities generally claimed that receiving wolf form involved a direct pact with the devil. Thomas Bytons in 1642 and Augustine de Moor in 1649 faced charges of being werewolves linked to their wives' witch trials, but courts acquitted them. Not everyone avoided punishment, however. On July 29, 1652, farmer Jan Oika Vindevogel near Ghent was burned alive for witchcraft after neighbors said they saw him transform into a wolf. He named Jos Verpreit as an accomplice, and officials also burned Verpreit. In 1657, officials executed Matthijs Stoop for sorcery after he confessed under torture that the devil gave him a wolf skin. Records also list men like Jan Lelu, who was executed November 5, 1607, and Johan Prickalka, who was executed around 1609 in Maassijk after facing similar charges. Marvelous summary. Though historical documents record trials of supposed werewolves, the root of the myth is older and stems from a mix of pagan beliefs, wolf ecology, and cultural imagination. Frightening events, such as wolves killing livestock, often led villagers to suspect a werewolf in their midst. Over time, such tales spread through Europe, especially where wolf populations remained high. Medical conditions like hypertrichosis, which cause excessive hair, could have also led to people believing that someone was a werewolf. By the 18th century, courts began to show skepticism toward witchcraft claims, including werewolf accusation. Enlightenment thinking questioned superstitions and torture-based confessions. Gradually, the obsession with both witchcraft and werewolves faded. Today, historians view these trials as part of a broader pattern of fear, social tension, and religious conflict that marked Europe's witch hunt era. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.